out to be completely unreliable assholes.
Tim-san.
Hey!
Hey-o.
What's up?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
That's right. It's a good morning to you, a good morning to me, and to whoever may be listening. We wish you a good morning, good afternoon, or a good evening, or a good night, and welcome to Dismembering Horror, episode 83 of Dismembering Horror. It's the podcast show where myself, Ryan McDuffie, and
myself, Tim Aslin.
That is right. We dismember a horror film. Every week, we talk about what worked for us, what did not work for us, and anything we found interesting or noteworthy about horror films that we've been wanting to see, that we feel like we want to talk about, meanwhile, and just kind of digesting them and learning how to catalog them for ourselves and our beings. We're on the quest to see what we haven't seen, which is what I suppose horror is in a nutshell is.
In a nutshell.
We want to see the unseen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, do we.
That's always my answer when people ask why horror. That's like what it comes down to for me. It's like, if everyone looks left, I want to look right. That's just who I am.
Oh my God, it's a clown.
And yeah, we made it. To episode 83.
We made it.
And
we've arrived.
Yes.
It took 83 episodes, but here we are.
Here we are at a film we had pulled earlier to watch, but wasn't actually available.
Where we were when we pulled this? 'Cause it was a while ago, right?
We were like here where we always are.
I mean, we were in like the 50s, maybe?
Oh, no. It wasn't that long. It was like 10 episodes ago. Oh, no. Pulled it. We decided on it for 84. I don't know.
I don't remember. It feels like a long time ago, though.
Maybe like 20 or so.
We've been really waiting.
Because
this is the sound of my hands rubbing together.
Because it's technically a 2017 film. So, and I'd
really?
heard it. Yeah, because that's when it came out November 2017 in Japan.
Okay, I gotcha. End of the year.
So, and there'd been talks on Shudder about it coming out, or I'd heard about it. So I just assumed it was already on there, but nope. It was not. But it worked out because we were meant to watch it now on Blu-ray, courtesy David Sims. Thank you if you're listening.
Good one, David.
Yeah, and will we start off, if there's nothing else you want to offer or contextualize, Tim, we start off with the trailer.
Contextualize.
I could just hear you. Do I want to contextualize anything?
How can I contextualize this moment a little bit? Ryan's got a very nice sort of sweatery, what would you call that? It's a long, open, non-buttoned, long sleeve sweater thing. It's sort of like a trench coat, but in sweater form. It looks extraordinarily comfortable.
Appropriately so, not to name drop or place drop, I got it in Tokyo.
Hey! Wow, how apropos.
All right, let's do it. The trailer.
Cool.
One cut of the dead.
ここね。表向きは浄水場として作られたんだけど、裏ではある実験に使ってたんだって。
ある実験？
人体実験。
Wow.
So yeah, that was the original Japanese trailer, which does spoil the big, where it's all headed.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't think the American trailer did or does. So.
Wow.
So, well, I guess, hopefully if you're listening to this, you've seen it, because not having seen a lot's predicated on not having seen it. Or not having knowing what's, of course, not knowing, I guess, the twist or exactly where it's going. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very glad I didn't know anything, to be honest.
Totally.
Which is lucky considering that so much time had gone by between us pulling it and watching it that I could have
You gotta
easily.
You gotta tip your hat to the fans on this one. I think did a really good job of like keeping it all, keeping and not spoiling it. Yeah,
Under wraps.
no, this wasn't a mummy movie, Tim. You were saying it like, is this a pun?
I know. I was trying to.
It's a rap.
I was searching.
All right. Well, after the trailer, we move on to our rating. Per our rating system, would we tell ourselves? Would you tell yourself, Tim, to avoid it, stream it, rent it, or buy it?
Wow. I'm very on the fence of buy. Like, God,
Me too.
fuck, would I buy this?
Again, it's always hard when we just watched it.
I know. I think I want to see it again. I
Yeah.
mean, I know I want to see it again. It's so fun.
Yeah. And the spirit of the kind of fun it is just so wonderful.
Yeah, it is so joy.
What are you doing with your muscles? That's really distracting.
You like that? I didn't even know I was doing it. I'm just contemplating life, and I have my hands on my head, and my biceps just automatically twitch.
It's like as distracting as when people do that with their chest. It's so visceral.
The worst. Okay, I'll stop for you.
It's really weird looking.
I think I'm a buy because of how joyful it is as a movie and how good I felt afterwards. I was just like, that was so fun and lovely.
Yeah.
There you go. I'm a buy. I'm a buy.
That's good.
Right next to Possession on my shelf.
Another buy it. I know. It's hard because like coming in after having just seen it where I don't feel like I need to immediately see it again. Of course, I'm like, oh yeah, no, it was so good as a rent it. But like, I think maybe, okay. I wasn't coming in feeling this way, but now maybe I do want to give it a buy it because I just feel like to buy it is somehow supporting a good cause, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's also because like, you know, we borrowed my friend's Blu-ray of it, so I don't feel like I have to buy it, like in a really practical reason right now that I've had it. You know, he's lent it to me for a while now till we have had to watch it.
Well, here's a question. Would you say that the bonus features make it that much more, have owning it and having access to those bonus features, does that push you in a direction?
I don't know if I need to revisit. I will say the actual making of it was almost like a fun extenuation of the movie itself because you just on another level.
So many layers.
The making of it, and they do have the director was wearing a GoPro helmet during like all the long takes. And they have one of the take of the take that they use.
Jesus.
So you can see it behind
take
the
of a
scenes
take
on
of a
level.
take.
No, I'll just, why not get in the spirit of it? I'll say buy it too.
Woohoo! Double buy.
Yeah. It was really, really fun. Also just so fun to have something that's such a later era tiered zombie film work.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of why it's a buy for me is the ability for a genre film to break down the genre sort of in the way that Shaun of the Dead did. And that's like why it still stands up, is because it is not just falling into let's do a zombie film.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's taking it to another sort of...
It really is a come full circle of like Shaun of the Dead kind of breaking open a certain self-awareness thing and then blah, blah, blah. But then having One Cut of the Dead go... Because then what Shaun of the Dead does is help propagate, and all the other zombie movies the last 20 years help propagate just sort of the whole idea of like the zombie genre like is such a thing.
Right.
So how do you then take another further look at that, then make it about that fact, people making a zombie film? It's cool.
Right. Yeah, I like it.
Great. Well, I hope you more than like it because I don't know.
Did you?
Right? Yeah, I'll buy it. I like it. I don't know.
No, I mean I like that aspect. of it.
Yeah. Cool.
I like that. That's what it did. I love the movie.
There, that's what we want to hear.
I love it. One quick question. So, I'm sure I've used this term on the podcast, but I recently was in New England visiting friends and family and all of that, and twice I used the term inside baseball and got blank looks, like they had never heard that term before. Have you heard that term before?
Yes, but not until probably like last year or two.
I didn't realize it was sort of not a, what would you call that? Colloquialism.
Well, it's, I
mean,
feel
it
like
is one, but not a widespread
It's very
one.
within like politics is when you hear it. And even then it's not super used. So I think anyone who's not like paying close attention to politics maybe wouldn't have heard it.
Well, having said that, the reason I bring it up is because this movie, I would use it in reference to this movie. But if a lot of people don't really get what I'm saying, let me explain inside baseball very simply for anyone who doesn't know, because I had to do it twice with like my family. It's like, you guys, what the fuck? Anyway, so inside baseball is really simple. It just means baseball, it comes from the fact that baseball is a very complex sport from an intellectual standpoint. It's a simple sport from just a plane. You hit the ball, you run, whatever the fuck. But there's so much complicated rules and just absurd sort of shit that comes along with baseball. So the term inside baseball means you're inside the kind of the insular world of that complex thing. Mm-hmm. And so I use it often to describe any film that deals with film. Like, it's inside baseball, meaning it's inside the industry, a thing that only people in that industry know about, and the complexities or the nuances of that thing. So just so we're all on the same page, that's what I mean when I say inside baseball.
All right. Got it.
Great.
Now we can move on to our summary of the film.
Okay, my summary of this film is it's very inside baseball.
Actually, here's my way of putting that, Tim. And you need my
validation?
Yes, tell me if this is right. Mm-hmm. One Cut of the Dead, originally titled, or Japanese title, Kamera o Tomeru na, which means don't stop the camera.
Oh, cool.
It is a movie about the making of a zombie movie that's about the making of a zombie movie.
Hold on. Let me follow that. Yeah.
That's about
the making of a zombie. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Great.
That's definitely right.
Okay, great. At one point I had an extra making of a movie in there, I think.
No, because the initial zombie movie that we see is the half-hour, one take movie.
And
that movie itself is about the making is a zombie being made.
Right. It's a zombie movie about a zombie movie being
correct.
Made. So the special feature documentary that's a behind the scenes of this movie would be a movie about the making of a movie about a zombie movie that's about the making of a zombie movie.
Holy hell. Wait, but hang on. The half-hour movie, that's the half-hour movie is a movie. And in that movie, somebody is making a movie.
Yes.
Right? So that's just the half-hour movie.
Yes.
That's a movie inside of it's a movie being made.
Okay.
It's a movie about a movie being made.
So it's a movie.
So it's actually, there should be 3.
Okay. I was right the first time. So wait, then it's a movie about a movie being made. Wait.
Oh, shit.
It's a movie about...
You have to go backwards, right? Because the movie itself, One Cut of the Dead, is the first movie.
Okay.
And that movie is about a guy who has been asked to make a movie. So that's 2. And inside of the movie that he's making is a character making a movie about the zombie apocalypse. So that's 3. Mm-hmm. So it is 3.
So it's a movie about a movie that's about the making of a zombie movie that's about the making of a zombie movie.
You added one too many movies.
No, that's right? Because that's...
Oh my God. It's a movie about the making... Yes, you go backwards. It's a movie about the making of a movie about a movie being made about the zombie apocalypse.
All right, let's just quit there. If you have a way of putting it, if your brain can tackle this kind of thinking, let us know.
Okay.
This challenge.
So
on top of that,
that's our summary.
Yeah. So what that looks like is,
oh my God. Yeah.
So it's so cool. It's basically, it is 3, I'll play as 3 distinct acts. The first act is a zombie movie. It's a 1-take zombie movie, short film at 36, 37 minutes.
I think so, yeah, 37.
That is about some ragtag people, filmmakers, making a zombie film that then turns into a real-life zombie attack.
Right, because the premise of that is that the director is so obsessed with making a perfect zombie film that he follows along a folklore curse and pours blood out in some ritualistic way on the roof of this building they're in to evoke the zombie apocalypse.
Right. And actually, for this whole review, this will stay true for this section too. It's like what's so unique and interesting, part of why this movie is so fun and cool, is that we'll be talking about this as an isolated short film, taking it as face value, and then in addition to also putting it in a whole entirely different context of it being of then watching the behind the scenes of how this is made. Because
we watch that short film in its entirety unbroken, without any context first. Yeah. And then when that ends, man, I really was like, where the fuck is this movie going to go? Like, it just ended.
Yeah.
Then we learn the context of the making of that short film.
Yeah.
Which is, what's the director's name?
The character?
Yeah.
Takayuki.
Okay.
Is the actor and the character.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. So Takayuki is a middling TV director?
Or like,
what is he?
He's like some little...
He's like a promo guy, right?
Yeah, just producing video content, kind of like promos, whatever.
And he has a really funny sort of like philosophy of like media. If it's medium is fine.
Yeah.
Like it's good enough.
Yeah.
Is his attitude. Like just get it done and it's good enough. So he's really underachieving here. And he gets approached by a TV studio exec
guy. Or he approaches them? I forget.
That guy comes to him and sort of pitches it. He's like, you're good at making shit on the fly.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, kind of, I guess.
Well, then, so then this whole middle section is just sort of the preparation for the making of the short film that we just watched.
And to be honest, it's traditionally what you would see in the first act of a movie.
Yeah.
You meet the main character, you see sort of like what his status quo is life-wise. You see him at work, you see him at play, you see him at home, right? So we meet his family, you see that his wife is, kind of just... She's just a cool wife, but we don't get a whole lot of context for... She's like really supportive. She likes what he does, but we don't really know much about her. And then their daughter is a budding filmmaker as well, and she's kind of a little over the top. Like she's struggling to not... she's struggling to stay in line as a, on a film set.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, she's sort of the foil to him of, if he's the guy who plays everything safe, she's the exact opposite. She's like, no, this is how it goes.
Yeah.
And that's sort of,
We got to keep the film alive.
right. And so we then learn also that that his wife was an actress back in the day and gave it up, but we don't get the reason why until later.
Yeah.
So all of that, and then obviously he's approached to make this live broadcast, one take, unbroken zombie film about a director making a zombie film, and the zombie apocalypse happens during it.
Yeah.
So, and he's like, holy fuck, like, at first he's like, this is a crazy, and you guys are joking, right? And they're like, no, we're serious. Are you in? And he says, yes. So then we have to see him wrestle with that challenge.
Yeah, and it's fun. We get the sort of the gathering of the team, and then it's all, I don't want to say it's all, but it's largely just kind of functioning as setup for this last act. It's really laying the groundwork for the context of any questions we had when we watched the original short film. Yeah.
Because there are a number of moments in the original short film that are a little like, why is that happening?
Yeah.
And you don't get an answer until the third act, when we then watch the actual making of the short film.
Right. That's the last act.
And we see the reasons for all of these head scratch moments.
We basically follow along with them shooting this live long take, and not a long take in itself. It's not a third long take.
Wait, what?
I'm saying the last act of the movie in itself isn't a long take. It's a traditionally shot film with separate shots about a long take.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. There are cuts.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Right. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's awesome because it's behind the scenes watching how they made this thing.
Yeah.
For one, that's awesome by itself. But also the answers to our questions of what the fuck was going on.
Why is this crane shot so wobbly?
So fun.
Yeah.
Because they're these like aha moments, and they take all of these things that are set up in the second act, like, for example, the sound guy can't drink hard water or else it gives him diarrhea.
What's so cool, it's a combination of, you get like aha moments, simple payoffs to setups, and things just taking on completely different contexts.
Right.
It's just like working on so many unique, interesting levels. I had never really seen anything like it before.
It is fucking brilliant. Mm-hmm. Like, at the end of the day, it is really brilliant. And like, it's such an interesting thing to try and wrap your head around, to be like, oh wait, so all of this had to be constructed backwards in order for it to work, right? Or you had to, I think the other option is you had to do a trial where you try to do the movie and you see all the problems. I mean, maybe you just do this hypothetically, and you see all of the places that shit can go wrong, and you go, cool, now we have these like markers for where things can go wrong. Let's write story reasons for those things to go wrong that are fun and funny.
Yeah.
It's fucking genius.
On all sorts of levels, they must have come up with stuff. Well, anyway, that was already swaying from summary to what worked. So I think in that high praise you ended with. So how about we just go ahead and move into what worked?
Okay.
What worked?
What worked for you? What worked for you?
It worked like a charm, Smith.
What worked for you?
I mean, okay, well, to break it down, because, okay, more some just like grand things. Kind of, got this from another review, but just really had to agree with it. But just that whole spirit of like, just got to put on a show that's just imbued in this film is, I just think, so fun and refreshing, especially kind of in such a maybe nihilistic, but just kind of, skeptical kind of, I don't know, a lot of pessimistic worldviews out there, or just kind of like not wanting to uplift and encourage people. It's just, I don't know. It just felt such like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. I think there's something extraordinarily compelling about taking on a challenge that your practical mind says that's a bad idea, and saying, and sort of saying, fuck it, like, we're gonna do this, and in the spirit of we're gonna do it, we're gonna figure out ways to solve it and make the like, it's the show must go on kind of attitude, which you don't see that much anymore for lots of good reasons, because things crash and burn very easily, especially in the film world.
But then, as we see, you use ingenuity, you lean on each other, you figure it out.
Right, you use teamwork, and you collaborate. It's so fun.
I couldn't think of a better ending of the human pyramid, just kind of as a metaphor of like, we all working together,
so good,
putting our backs on the line to support each other just for this end goal.
It feels so good, because it's not cynical. That, like, in a time of cynicism all around us all the time, and maybe that's always been true, it's so nice to see something that's not. And it makes you feel good.
And I think a big part of that, to kind of transition what else worked for me, is the casting, where this group of people, not necessarily as far as ragtag, but that kind of gets at a spirit, of it for sure. But that they're all the kind of person this is so much fun to see, like, succeed, or have to like they're a lot of them seem like the kind of introverts who are the ones to then step up and go, hey, we got to still do this no matter what. And then you just see them shine when the moment calls for it. They're just all so fun.
Well, one of the things that is, I think, quite brilliant about the character construction is that every character has an arc. A very clean one, too, right? So a lot of them are kind of coming from that, like, underdoggy thing where we root for them in that respect. But even the people who we kind of are like, your character is a shittier person or whatever. For example, the star, the lead guy who the daughter has a crush on. He's kind of pretentious, right? Like, he comes in being a little bit egotistical and a little pretentious, a little know-it-all-y and all the things.
The director has to placate him, telling him, you're the real star.
Right. And then when shit starts to really hit the fan, and
was that in the short film itself? Wait, are you talking?
No, you're right. You're right. He placates it. In the short film, he slaps him.
Right.
He kind of gets a little bit of his comeuppance.
Yeah.
And then in the spirit of... he becomes infected by the spirit of camaraderie and let's get it done, and like, we're all in this together, so that by the end he's like helping out. He's in the fucking human pyramid. Like, that's so fulfilling to watch characters make that arc. Like, seeing the daughter take her what's considered a weakness as being too bossy or too sort of like hard-headed and like, this is the way it goes, find her space and use that quote unquote weakness as a strength to make this thing happen.
Yeah.
Seeing the wife take on a thing and like overcome kind of her reason for quitting acting, even though it does cause problems, but it still makes the film better.
Yeah.
And she, like,
she
all
brings
of those
herself
things,
to
like,
the film, and
seeing the director go from like, mediocre is just enough to desperately doing everything he can to make this happen. And like, in the final shot, really seeing him
make it the best it can be.
He's directing in the most perfect ways, right? Like, he's holding the camera behind camera.
I forgot he's given
really directing.
He's given that moment at the end with the pyramid. Do we settle for not the big reveal of the logo, or what do you call it?
Right, the pentagram.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're right. That's complete arc. And he reaches like, no, we can't settle for less. We can't settle for mediocre.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
He gives himself over to the film.
everybody, yeah. I mean, it's just so joyful to see everybody put their bullshit aside and work together for a common purpose. Mm-hmm. It's the greatest feeling.
Yeah. It's something I love about filmmaking. One of the many things.
Right. And
but that's probably a big part of it. Yeah.
No doubt. So yeah, that character development is fucking great. It's so fucking smart.
Were there any other standout example you remember from that? I'm just trying to remember them all now. Like one that comes to mind.
Those are the big ones.
Yeah.
I mean,
the drunk was fun seeing him. I mean, we'll get to that on different levels.
Yeah. I mean, even on sort of smaller levels, you get the energy of that is kind of there at the beginning when they're having the table read, where it's like this is kind of different, I guess, generally speaking, but like the lead actress, she's on board, but she's held back a little bit by her people, by the stereotype of her people, where she's like, the script says that I get vomited on, and like I'm kind of okay with that, but like my people say it's not okay because I'm a pop star and like you can't do that. And so in a weird way it still happens and she rolls with it. Yeah. Right? Like her rolling with it. She could literally be like, stop. Yep. But everybody, because there is I don't know, what do you call that? The fact that it's live and, they're trying to achieve this thing compels everybody to work a little bit harder, to stay in it a little bit more.
It's also, I just, thinking in terms of just screenwriting terms, you also am thinking of the producer, the older producer woman with the face, the very distinct face.
Very distinct.
She doesn't go through an arc, but maybe she just kind of, not in like in the way of a bad guy, but in kind of, in screenwriting terms, that antagonistic force still, where it's so fun because she represents she doesn't change, but in a way that works because of just where it pays off in the end. Because just how much fun is it in the moment when she goes, oh great, went off without without any problems at all.
Right.
That's true to her character. She didn't need to change, but just to sort of emblemize that force in the face of everything worked. It was fun. So just good character usage aside from just arcs.
Well, actually, the one other that comes to mind is the other producer, the guy who hired our director in the first place, specifically because he's like, you're good at mediocre. He tries to shut it down like 2 or 3 times. Yeah. And he gets shut down in that pursuit, right?
And it's fun to see him get on board with it all.
Exactly. By the end, he's like, fuck yeah, it's happened. Like he could have been the dickhead producer who's like, no, I'm in charge and I'm shutting it down. But he doesn't, because he gets infected by this sort of...
Thanks to the daughter who you said is like, was the call to arms.
Let's get really fucking meta and say, I guess the metaphor overall, in a way, is the zombie infection is a metaphor for the infectiousness of, like, working together.
Sure.
How you like that?
I'll give you that one. Yeah! It's there. They're good infected. Yes, yep. I like it. Why
okay,
not?
Cool.
Just to get out of the way, just a simple one, but the location was totally worked.
So good.
Okay, actually, I'll use this transition too. Like, pretty much my list of what works here, they all fall under, of just more specific things, they fall under the category of like working on one level within the short film, then another level.
Like the payoff kind of?
Yeah. So like...
Dude, the set-off payoff like formula in this is incredible.
Right?
It is so fucking good.
Yes. My favorite...
It's so good.
My favorite example in like the whole movie, I think, like, I mean, on so many levels, but just to start with the favorite, just because it like, I don't know, when something gets you and it just feels so good to be gotten, was like, and again, an example of how it works in both contexts, but like, I loved it in the short film itself when the zombie vomits on the guy
God.
for the first time.
Oh my God, so
This is
good.
great,
It's
like
so
zombie
good.
vomits. And then to see it in the later context, we learn he's drunk. It's like entirely wasted. It's just a drunk person vomit, and that shock and horror on the on the actor's face was genuine. Being vomited on.
He actually, it makes me realize why the way they did set up and payoff is so effective is because if we had done traditional structure and seen the preparation and gotten all of that sort of character setup of like, oh, that guy's a drunk, oh, that guy has a diarrhea problem, oh, the wife has a take it too far problem. If we had gotten all of those before seeing the actual short film,
it wouldn't work at all.
It wouldn't work, right? Because we would then know, we would be anticipating those things, and we would put two and two together so that when we see the actual payoff, it wouldn't work. And so the idea of flipping that around and making sure that we're still kind of in the dark, right? Like when it happens, it's such a holy shit, of course. We almost in a way should be able to see it coming, but it operates on just enough of a sort of vague level that we're like, oh, I know that's going to be a problem, but I don't really know how.
Well, I want to give it the context again going into this. Like, I thought that first short film, what ended up being just a first short film, like, was going to be the movie. I thought it was just I thought we were watching the movie.
Right.
I thought it was just going to keep going somehow. I thought, she was just going to, I was into the short film enough on its own.
Yeah, that's why I was confused when it ended. I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Now what?
Yeah. And how much fun to be taken on that unexpected ride, truly. Yeah.
So,
But yeah, fully enjoying it just as the
these
short film.
payoffs they're hidden enough up until they pay off.
Right. Like, yeah. So another example, like in the, Tim, you kind of noticed on, that after the cameraman falls over in the short film, and from that point on, there's a lot more zoom action going on.
Oh, dude, that is...
And then so that we learn, and then the second act, we learn that the girl who wants to be
she's
the
basically
camera
the
person,
first AC, if you will. Like, she's the assistant to the camera operator.
that she's like, no, zooms are fun, we should do it, kind of thing. And then lo and behold, that's why there's zooms. We learn in the third act that the other cameraman gets disabled falling over, and she has to pick it up and take it over. Her moment to shine.
It's so good.
It's like watching the first one, it was working for me like the sound person, where it just like was funny that it was just this kind of like, I don't know, like a stereotype, but just kind of the idea of the complacent kind of sound, the kind of like doldrum sound person who just kind of like sits off on the side doing their own thing. Like he's like trying to sneak away in the short film. And then of course, then the new angle on that later on, even though it was working in itself, is he's sick, has diarrhea. Because he was given hard water versus soft water, or vice versa.
That can't be a real thing.
That was so funny.
If that's a real thing,
I mean, that was
please let me know.
That was really fun in itself to like be, like who is this diva insisting on?
He's like
hard water?
I emailed you.
Right.
I emailed you.
And then we're just hating him for that. But then, of course, he's right. And it kind of is like almost jokes on us. Like, okay.
Well, it makes me realize, too, I think part of also why this movie works so well overall is that it really, really hugs the line of cliche. But in a pleasing way, because each of these characters, they're all super, super real people, right? Like, or they're real representations. In other words, what I mean is sound guys, there is a cliche about sound guys being kind of like, whatever, and they just sit there. Mm-hmm. There's a cliche about camera operators always complaining about their backs. Mm-hmm. It's like, these are all real things, right? There's always the over-eager first AC, right? They're just people that exist in the industry. That's what they are. Now, to varying degrees within their own category, but like, we've all met them.
Yeah.
Like the director's daughter being like, I want to fucking do it. We know, like, that's just a thing that exists. The director that doesn't believe in himself, like
Director doing 43 takes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we know all those things are real. The sort of the lead guy being a little fucking pretentious, like
The actor she gets too much into her role.
yeah, like these are all just real things that exist. Like, they just are real.
But you're right. No, it reminds us, these sort of cliches, stereotypes come from real places, but that it's important, or what this does so well is putting that humanity in there and kind of reminding us of that in the best of ways.
Right, because I guess sometimes the trap is that you create characters that are those cliches, but you don't do anything with it. You just have them exist in the cliche.
Well, to sort of, I guess, tie it into a thing I'm going to maybe say for things of note, but that it seemed like they were really developed the parts with the actors. They kind of like moved the actors around to the different roles, like during rehearsals, and had different groupings just to kind of all just kind of, let it congeal kind of thing. Like one of the actors saying like, oh yeah, even though I started off thinking it'd be this, then it ended up being this. So you just get that idea that it was a pretty organic way in order to accomplish that sort of task of bringing out their humanity.
That's cool. So,
The
all of that's to say that the characterization and the writing or the development was fucking spot on.
Yeah, it was great. It was really fun, too, having in the short film these gore moments just be super fun of the decapitations, and then just seeing, like, these perfectly orchestrated switcheroos of, like,
so good.
It's like, what do you call them in theater, Tim? Like, the people that wear all black, like the stagehands, basically like the PAs, whoever, on this, just doing that swift, perfectly timed switch out, throw in the head, pulled up the dummy with the fake head, squirt, and then while someone else, like, squirts the blood spray at the exact right time as the actress switches the axe.
Love the squirting blood.
Yeah.
Every time it happened, it's like, whoo.
I just got to get this out of my system, Tim. I
Get
hope
it
you
out.
Join me.
I hope it's not diarrhea.
Pum!
Oh, pum,
Pum!
pum,
Pum!
pum,
Pum!
pum.
Oh my God. That was another example of the pum lady of bringing, like, I guess in a meta way, if we were just talking about in an actual way that actors are bringing their humanity to the role, that was a meta way of a part of an actor bringing their humanity to the role, where those moments where they had to improvise, like, were so much fun. And that was one of them where, like, we just bought it watching the short film. We just bought at face value that this was written into the short film of
totally.
Like, she talks about her own, that she has a hobby of self-defense, and the one she just learned is pom.
Yep.
And then within the short film, it was so much fun when she goes crazy, and to have her escape from being captured doing that technique. We just
Over
hear
and
her in
over.
the background.
Yeah.
Boom! There she is.
Well, the brilliance to me too, and why it feels so good, is that all of these things are solutions, right? And so when the stakes are high, and we know that when we're watching the third act, the actual execution of all this stuff, and you see and have context for all the things that can go wrong, seeing on the fly solutions when things are high stakes it's like whenever you're watching I don't know, like a sporting event or something, and you're watching like the last pin teeter in and you're like, please fall over. Oh God, good. It did. Great. Okay, they got it. We're on to the next thing. And that anticipation of the solution and like watching it form and work, even if it's like really hard, like him holding the drunk man up, all of that, it's like, we're like, oh, yeah, it's working. Okay, cool. Well, like, we're still alive.
Right, to see her solution of being like, I'm going to talk about this thing, and I'm going to do pom.
Right.
It was, worked in itself in the short film, but then just once seeing the behind the scenes, the last act, as an example of improvisation, then seeing how that was the solution to what was one of a joyous favorite moment from the short film itself. It's just like exactly like the fun of learning about our favorite movies of like, whoa, that, you know, favorite line or iconic line was actually improvised. Here's Johnny was improvised.
Right,
you know?
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're sort of, it's the, you know, tiptoeing along the sideline and staying in bounds.
Yeah.
It's so like, oh, shit, okay, we're okay.
I mean, you mentioned the drunk kick, and that was cracking me up.
So good.
Seeing him, okay, well, and again, feeling like I was just played like a fiddle in the most satisfying way, because when it was just thought it was the short film that we were watching, the performance of him, I thought was like, oh, this is such a good zombie performance. The way he was looking in the window and just kind of seemed totally empty and clueless and dead-eyed. I'm like, it was really affecting to me in the context of he was a zombie. He was like a scary zombie. And then he's just a clueless drug, has no clue.
Right. He's passed out.
He's passed out. His eyes open. Director's holding him like Weekend at Bernie's. Like,
yes. So good.
So funny.
Yeah. What are some of the other big solves? I mean, one that I love is, it's kind of a reverse solve. It's like more of a problem, I guess, but it makes it so exciting is when the wife flips out. When we get that clue that, the reason we get it really late. Like the daughter's like, oh yeah, the reason that she quit acting, because the producer's like, she's really great. Like, why did she stop acting? And the daughter's like, well, actually, like she kind of has a tendency to take it too far,
right? And then so we see
flip out, and immediately we're at that point in the film where she's flipping out.
She's jump kicking people. She's jump kicking the zombie extras.
I loved seeing her jump kick them in the original film so much that learning that that's the reason she's doing it made it that much better. Because I'm like, oh, it's conflict now. Like it's like she's not doing it because she's awesome. I mean, she is doing it because she's awesome, but it's not awesome in the context of trying to get this thing made.
Well, it's like all again that it's just all for this end goal of the better film. Like imagining it without the short film, without those jump kicks, where it's like, well, what would have been aside from that? It felt like that was so cool to have in the movie, and like,
right?
You know, it's just because they cast her and she got too into her role. She was jump kicking them. On a kind of fun level too. There's when watching it, just the short film, there were touches that I just had to write off as like, this is what I like about, you know, what feels unique as Japanese sensibilities of just kind of like odd moments or kind of taking things to the extreme. So like example, when you're just watching as the short film and the director is flipping out at the main, the lead actor, just yelling at her, saying, it's not real, but just like how much he's committing to it. That was like, again, working for me on the level of just the short film and like, okay, this is, good Japanese short film. And then to get it later on, of course, then the reveal for that is like he's had to jump in at the last minute as the actual director to play the director role and is just like giving it his all, you know, right away, taking it to his vision. It's the way that was really fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall it's a constant exercise in watching somebody be handed a seemingly insurmountable and unwanted challenge, and they go, fuck it, I'm in. Let's just go. Yeah. And they commit to that. Like, even though it seems like for all your rational brain, you know, whatever,
the monkey mind,
like, is saying, don't do this. Yeah. When we see people take on the challenge and just go for it, even if they were to fail, we still, I think, respond positively to people being like, I shouldn't do this, and I don't want to do it. I'm resistant to it. I'm jumping in. And when we see that, we go, ooh, yeah. Oh, okay, cool. Yep. Like, here we go. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, the moment of him we think, oh shit, we know what he does, but like, we can see him, the director character, going, I'm not up for this, when he's told he has to take on the role. and the next beat is him full force going, you have to do this. You have to make it real. And then we get the producer going, wow, he's really going, he's going full on.
Yeah.
And it's like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
He fucking said, fuck this, I'm going. Yeah. And with that's, to me, that's like so exciting. And because we all have the voice in our head saying like, hang on, maybe play it safe. Maybe you shouldn't do this. Maybe you're not up for it, whatever. And to overcome that and to watch a character overcome that is so exciting.
And then again, the reminder what's this film, why it maybe doubles that is because then that is also happening on the meta level.
Right.
Like to watch in the behind the scenes, them having to put on that pyramid, the human pyramid. Like you should see that guy, the guy who plays the director, he's, you know, he was getting the worst of it being at the top of the pyramid and then having to hold up the girl on his shoulders.
Right.
Like so many times they would try and take it after take. He's like, no. It's dangerous. Let me down. I'm slipping kind of thing.
Oh shit.
But in the end, they did it. And to the director's credit too, you know, I think just as another what works for me about this is when so much of it, the film is about capturing a certain spirit. It being a low budget film only supports that energy of just everyone having to pick, you know, hold whatever they have to support that human pyramid. Right. Like he was saying, if this was a bigger budget thing, we might have, you know, had wires that we erase later helping to hold up the pyramid. Mm-hmm. But no.
You had wires in your belly.
Yeah.
They're called your abs.
I loved again all those moments where they looked at, where in the short film, it felt like it totally worked. They were just like looking off camera dramatically or whatever, but they were actually looking at a cue card, reading them.
Yeah, again, that's to me, that's the excitement of the solution.
Yeah. Yeah. But just stuff taking on this double meaning too. Again, that's what really gets me.
It's so good.
Like, yeah, I like almost when watching the first short film, this was, you know, I almost had to put, you know, was thinking, oh, okay, what are my what did not work? But really, you know, in the end, it works entirely. Right. But like during when we were watching the short film, I was like screaming at it in a not fun way when the cameraman falls over and the zombie's getting the girl. And there are these other people around, but we're like, no one is helping. Like, where did everyone else just go? I thought they were all right there in the van. Like, I just didn't pick up on why they all fled or what they were all doing. Like, we just didn't have that context. At least I missed it if there was that. So I was frustrated. But then, of course, you know, later on when we get, like, see the behind the scenes, like, oh, it's just mayhem at this point. They're all running off to put on the makeup in time or whatever they have to do, you know, like they're going on to the next thing. And this was the mistake. He actually fell. Right. Was it supposed to take this long? That was just fun having, you know, a moment, work then retroactively work. It was cool.
Well, it makes me wonder, and maybe with the other extra stuff that you watched, you can speak to this, but it makes me wonder about certain moments that when they filmed the short film, in actuality, that they kind of had to do that first, correct?
They shot it before the other sections of the film, yeah. Right,
because you have to make sure that anything that does happen in the filming of the actual short film, the oneer, that you have to match later. You have to keep the continuity. So there's one moment when we see them shooting in the third act, we see the context for them shooting, and the cameraman running through the sort of vines, that area after when the zooms are happening and all of that, right? The cameraman falls down. The camera woman, the girl who has picked up the camera, falls down as the camera person. We see her do that. When we see the behind the scenes post credits, the actual cameraman, when they were actually filming the short film, falls down there. And I wondered if that was just something that happened, that he actually just fell down. Which is what it looks like, that it was just he just fell because, you know, he tripped. Yeah. And so it makes you realize that anything that happened in the filming of the short film originally, they had to then justify later with the story-wise.
Well, yeah, it's like how
they got to match it.
I noticed they matched so well, like, you know, when the final quote-unquote crane shot was happening, like the camera, you know, in handing it up or whatever, kind of, you know, jerks to the side a bit at a certain moment and then corrects itself.
Yeah.
Like, you notice that when you're watching this short film, and then, yeah, they can, you know, it's probably not planned, but then they put it in, they match it, like you're saying.
Well, and that's why I say, like, you have to shoot the short, the oneer first, so that you can know to give context to any little thing that happened.
Yeah.
Which is such a fucking cool, it's just cool. Like, what a fun challenge.
Another kind of train of thought I went on when at first I was like, when watching it, where I was almost, you know, feeling like, oh, do you know, did the middle section not work for me at all? With of just where it felt like when we were watching it, it sagged a little. I like then went on the train of thought, like, no, well, that was, first of all, when I was watching it, I was already like hyped up thinking that the short film was going to continue and it was just going to whatever. And it's so high energy. I almost expected, oh, how is it going to keep going? They're going to, you know, I build up this whole zombie film in my head.
Right.
So to slow down for a bit, you know, it just was kind of like took me off guard. And the end, no, totally works, because I also realized while watching that first short film, there was a part of me that was like, oh, I'd love to see, you know, the story of all these actors putting this together. Like, I was literally thinking of that. And then also just, you know, the middle portion is so important to set up the last act, not just in like literal, like setting up information, whatever, but setting it up as being a breather too.
Yeah.
Like, the first and third act are so relentless and just holding your breath that you really do literally have to have that breather through the middle section.
Yeah. No, it's the way to do it.
Yeah, it really worked. And then I'm sure, you know, on future viewings will only further work because you're just that much more in love with the characters and wanting to see them. And
yeah. What else? I don't know. I mean, that's pretty much it for me. It's just sort of like everything's kind of, it's such a fun, well kind of executed machine. Like it cranks in the best way.
Yep.
So go watch it if you didn't.
I concur. Shall we move on?
Yeah.
All right. Next section. If there is anything, what did not work?
It's not ready yet.
Seems to work okay.
No, something important's missing.
What did not
I'm because of the type of movie it is and how it was executed, I don't really have a thing that didn't work.
No, I'm scratching my head.
It just sort of is. I kind of felt the same way with the lull and the stark change from the first act to the second act, but it doesn't not work.
Right.
It's a reset, you know, of where we're at.
Especially just
a necessary one.
Yeah, especially just a first time viewing. You're just kind of getting your bearings. That's natural.
Right. I don't have anything written down. There were times when I sort of thought the actor Takayuki, who plays the director, where I just thought to myself, God, this guy is odd, right? He's just a very odd human being, and I almost thought like it's too weird. He's kind of too goofy weird for me. For fleeting moments, and then I was like, but no,
that's why I loved him.
He's amazing,
right? I felt
like, what the fuck am I talking about?
He's probably my personal favorite, just
right
to see him like fall into the director role and succeed.
I think all that is identification. Like there's a part of our brains that is looking to identify with a character in anything, in books, in movies, and whatever, in life, and so because he's sort of super goofy and like I'm less goofy, I was like looking for something to relate to. And in those moments where I was like, man, he's really odd.
Everyone, Tim doesn't know he's actually goofy. Don't tell him.
What? No. But like even that where I was like, well, that's not true. You know what I mean? I was like, I do relate to this, even though like whatever, we're not exactly the same. I even thought, I was like, Ryan's probably really relating to this guy.
I'm not him.
So, you know, it was awesome. Like it ends up being awesome. So I don't really have anything.
Well, I have some tidbits behind the scenes as to what informed the casting that is pertinent to that.
Okay.
Should we just go ahead and move on?
Yeah.
All right. Things of note.
Things of note!
This should be interesting.
So the director, whose name is
Shin'ichirô Ueda.
Ueda, Shinichiro Ueda, Ueda-san. He was specifically wanted actors and looked for actors who, as he put it, were like clumsy or awkward in real life.
Okay. Well, yeah, this guy was.
But it's so cool to look at this as an exercise and just being like, oh, when you do that, whatever, you're just super endeared to everyone here. And I think specifically for this film, the story too is good. Like, you know, it's about them stepping up to a task.
Right.
It was especially fun. Anyway, that was fun to learn. The film was developed in a workshop. Don't know many details about the workshop, but that was kind of, I think a part of it was like, you know, maybe what can you make on a low budget kind of thing that the director was a part of at the time.
Yeah.
The more of, you know, casting people like how they are in real life. The producer lady who, like, we just couldn't get her face. It was just so unique. The director,
I was really taken aback by her initially because I was just like, she's so unusual looking.
The director said, like, oh, that's, you know, referenced her face being like, that's really her, da 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 kind of thing. But he said that, you know, she worked in a courthouse and she's a later in life actor, but she was just kind of discovered by someone don't know if it was by him, but just as being like that kind of person in real life and just, well, okay, you're a character on your own.
Yeah.
Put you in movies. The part, Tim, where it's just so good, you're like, this had to be planned, of when the blood gets on the camera and you see the cameraman wipe it off. That was not planned. That actually happened.
I wondered.
Yeah.
I was like, are they going to leave that there for the rest of the time? Nope. They wiped it off.
And something as an example of something that was inspired. This is all from an interview with the director on the Blu-ray that I'm getting this stuff from. But the in real life during rehearsals or whatever, the cameramen kept falling over. So that's how that, you know, they use that to inspire that moment in the movie. If you're curious how many takes they did of the oneer,
it's at least 2.
Yeah.
I know that because there's a little bit of clue continuity in when we're watching the behind the scenes at the end credits. The sky is different in 2 shots, and it was like, oh, okay, so they had to do it at least twice.
Well, it was pouring rain during the whole shoot, apparently. Shit. Like every time before each shoot or whatever, I don't know if it was each take or each shoot day, but they had to like use stuff to get rid of the water that gathered at that bottom.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
Oh, what a
bottom
fucking
area.
pain in the ass.
Okay, so how many takes? There were 6 takes done. Okay. And they're 4 complete takes, which pretty solid.
That's pretty fucking good prep to get 4 full all the way through.
Yeah. I mean, that's what the whole movie was just them going from sitting, talking in a room, reading, to then standing up, doing it, being in a park, doing it,
dude,
being in a location.
So it made me want to do a challenge like this so badly. I was like, fucking, how fun would it be? And how would you do it? Conceptually, I was like, ooh, cool. Like, what is the process? You write the script, but then you have to workshop the script, and then you have to break it up into sections. You have to rehearse each section. You got to get shit down. And then you got to start executing progressively.
I mean,
it's so fun.
It's like a play, but the camera person and everyone behind the scenes is an actor too.
Right. Yeah, and maybe that's why I think it's so exciting. Is because that was what I originally came up through, is doing theater stuff. And like, theater can be super, super exciting and fun.
Right.
When you have those nights where you'd have just this weird extra fucking energy going on, and like everybody sort of feels a little extra like electricity, and weird shit's happening, and people are just on it, like they're just picking up cues and solving problems, and like whatever, everything's on the fly, and you're just like, gotta make it happen.
Well, like
That's so fun.
Yeah, I mean, I love in the behind the scenes any moment, and like in a long take two or a play or whatever, where it's, you know, once you say action and it's just like the train's left the station, it's then so fun where it's like you see the people waiting for their cue who are just relying on this whole scene to happen and they're just waiting outside, waiting on it.
It's like being in the wings of a theater and having to do like a quick change.
Yeah.
You know, and like, you know, I was God, this is in college. We did a musical I was the prop head for, and which was a fucking nightmare. We had like over 150 props. It was way over the top. Like, it was unnecessary. And so there were two of us prop heads. Actually, Lincoln was my co-prop head. And so Lincoln's my friend. So there were a number of times when we had to quick fly in props, like big pieces. Like there was a ship at one point and there was like a bar at one point. We had to fly those things in, but we also had to have characters. It was a Sondheim film or a play that goes backwards in time, kind of. And so you had to like de-age makeup people on the fly and do major costume changes in like a matter of seconds. And you see the teamwork thing that starts to happen like on the fly when, you know, somebody notices, like even actors behind stage would notice that the quick change isn't happening fast enough, and they'd run over and they'd like help, you know, button up the thing or whatever with the costume heads. And you see all of that, like, we gotta just make it fucking happen, man. And like everybody jumps on board, except for one guy who was kind of a dick, but whatever. Everybody else, you know, it's a really exciting thing to be a part of. Mm-hmm. So, you know, makes me want to do another thing like this, like bridge those two things. I think maybe that's part of why I like this movie so much, is because it's nostalgic for that type of experience.
Yeah. So I said, you know, they made it through 4 out of the 6 takes. The 2 that didn't make it all through, if you're wondering why they didn't make it all through. One was
injury.
No. One, they couldn't get the zombie makeup on in time for the cue. Another time, not necessarily injury, but the camera person fell over and hit the stop recording button on accident.
Well, bound to happen.
Yeah.
That's like, I mean, that happens in the least shitty circumstances.
Yeah.
Like on my last film, there's a full take where we have the sound, because sound rolled appropriately, but the camera op hit record twice by accident, thinking he had hit it without knowing he had hit it, right? And so there's like the leading up to action, or leading up to like the camera rolling, the camera was rolling.
Yep.
And so when he hit record to roll camera, he actually turned the camera off. And so there's an entire take, and nothing was going on. There's no actual reason for that. It was just a fuck up.
I saw
yeah, you remember.
So it was funny. This was the director specifically had in mind. He was making this for Japanese audiences because it was just normal to him that, you know, Japanese audiences, they wait for the credits to be over. So he was just it was just kind of a non-question, or something he just kind of had to put aside concerns about. But like, he heard from a friend that at a screening of it in Czech Republic, this probably happened elsewhere too. The audience, they clapped and left after
the 37 minutes.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Right.
Oh, that's funny.
Anyway, that's a tradition I'm very pro for, I think. And they do have respect for the filmmakers. Let it come to a close. Mm-hmm. Yeah. surprise, surprise, you know, I mean, common ones. He's saying like, oh, Night of the Living Dead is one of his favorite zombie movies. He mentioned like Evil Dead also. But then it was fun, you know, he was talking about, well, but as far as, you know, getting inspired by films about filmmaking, the first one he mentioned that he kind of spent time on was Bowfinger.
I've never actually watched it. Is it good?
Oh yeah, I mean, granted, this was me watching it. I've been wanting to revisit it for like a decade, but I watched the DVD a lot.
Nice.
You should watch it.
I don't think I have.
You'd probably remember.
I feel like I'd remember, right?
And then, it was fun. Then I watched the actual making of documentary on it after his interview. So then the script that's in the movie that says One Cut of the Dead was all the actors' actual script. So it was just kind of a fun touch. And that was all I kind of got from the making of as far as specific little bits, but it was really fun in general watching the making of, just seeing them. It's basically just seeing like that, okay, how do you do this? You just all show up together and just do it and talk about it and do it and talk about it and then just keep getting closer to the shoot day and location.
Hope everybody stays excited.
Yeah, the guy, the main actor, Takayuki, whose character is Takayuki, he was just like, I'm just gonna give it my best. I'm just gonna don't know what else to say right now. I'm just gonna absolutely try my best. Very endearing character.
I love every time he pops in and is like, action.
Yeah. Action! That was actually something you mentioned. I loved that. Talk about things that worked. Just like he becomes crazed and obsessed. Him playing that was so much fun. I did want to mention that.
Yeah.
Last thing of note I had, Tim, I just thought was funny. The 42nd Japan Academy Prize. It's their own award ceremony thing. It won the one award it won in this category, in this competition. What do you call it? I don't know. Anyway, it won best editing, and that's it, which I thought was very curious. When long take films win best editing. Granted, the second and third parts.
True.
Was it just? I think it was maybe just that was such a unique editing task, and that when it's a long take, it is hard to pick the take a lot of the times. Yeah, because there's never a perfect one.
That's right. Yeah, that's interesting.
Exactly. Interesting, noteworthy. I thought that was an interesting, noteworthy thing.
Man,
best editing.
It's fun. I think the only other thing that's cool to just mention is how fucking successful it was.
Yeah.
Just wildly successful. And I agree. I think for good reason. I'm glad that for such a small initial viewing, showing, screening, whatever you want to call it, the right person got eyes on it and was like, no. Everybody needs to see this. And then everybody did see it because it made a fucking lot of money, which is great.
Right.
Good job.
How much?
Oh my God. The total grossing was... no, that's domestic.
No, box office
Where
worldwide. Box office worldwide, 30.5 million.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
For a movie that cost $25,000?
Yeah.
Shit.
It's great.
That's nuts.
Cool.
Wow. They did it. Good job,
They
guys.
did it. We did it. And talking about it.
It's true.
All right. I think that's it for One Cut of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
So now we do, if we have any recommendations.
Yeah. Well, I was saying to Ryan earlier, I was going to recommend Dead Ma.
You can still.
No, I don't want to.
I double recommended
Nah.
something last week.
Yeah, hell yeah. No. I mean, we already did it. It's cool. I've got another one. So a friend of mine, I don't know how I didn't really realize. I guess I knew this, but didn't really realize it. But she has a podcast as well that is a horror podcast. And I jokingly was like, you stole that idea from me. Because we met right around when you and I had just started this. But it turns out we were all just doing it exactly at the same time. They are on episode like 83 and, we're on episode 80.
This is episode 83.
No, I know, but they've released 83. So they're ahead of us by a couple. But anyway, it's fun because it's a totally different thing than ours. What they do is, it's called Kim and Ket Stay Alive and then ... maybe. What they do is they both watch a movie and then Kim So basically, Ket will like explain the movie, or they'll talk about it or whatever. But Kim will have done some homework and tries to figure out how if she was the lead character, would not die. And they talk about that. So it's a fun sort of like, you know, back and forth about like,
oh yeah,
you know, I think this, and the, you know, the other
getting into the world of the horror movie itself,
and
the what if,
and the personalization of like her being like, no, like if it were me, definitely I would be alive or not.
Cool.
So it's a fun romp.
Friends of yours.
Get into it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Kim and Ket Stay Alive. Maybe.
Well, I haven't been watching or reading or whatever. I haven't been consuming a lot. But I listened to the first 2 episodes, which I've thoroughly enjoyed so far, of a podcast called Wild Thing by podcaster Laura Krantz, who's a NPR affiliate person. And she is basically bringing that NPR approach to Bigfoot enthusiast phenomena. Yeah.
Yes.
Thought you'd like that. Coming off of, you know, continuing the Hellier paranormal train.
Oh, yeah.
But it is just so much fun to hear, like, just someone sane and practical, like, follow her curiosity about just people who are curious themselves. And bringing that whole, the NPR sheen to it all. You know, oh yeah, here's the sounds of them hiking through the woods there and talking to this professor.
Crunch.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's called Wild Thing. And it's a limited.
Are there lots of like, did you hear that? There was a knock. It was a wood knock.
At least not yet.
Oh.
Only 2 episodes in.
That's the fun of Bigfoot hunting.
But
there's lots of wood knocking.
The tease that it starts with is kind of like, that makes you like tune into the rest, is she gets special access to what they call Bigfoot nests, where it's like supposedly they're like these in the middle of nowhere, these nests that someone or something has made.
Okay.
Like,
Wow.
very detailed, like something. They look like just kind of giant bird nests, I guess is why they go. But I just love that as the idea, like
shit.
Bigfoot nests. They live in nests, if you're wondering.
Oh, man.
Anyway,
Awesome.
I'm going to keep it up just because they're like little half-hour episodes.
Nice.
Wild Thing. And it's limited, so it's nice.
Cool. All right. Well,
My turn
it is your turn.
for next week. All right. Just 3 left.
3 left.
Until we refill it, and then we have many, many more to go.
I got ink for my printer, so I can print it out and cut them up.
Next week will be Tourist Trap.
Whoa.
I'm
Okay.
excited for that one.
No
I've
idea.
seen it, I think, way, way back in the day.
Really?
And it is one that there's a Joe Bob Briggs episode of on Shudder.
Oh, yeah?
So I guess we should probably watch it as the original film, but I'll probably watch...
Oh, it's a slasher from 79. All right.
Yeah.
All right. I can get into this.
But I'll probably watch the Joe Bob scenes, I'm sure, maybe after the fact, if you watch it isolated.
Yeah.
Anyway, great. Well, until then, you should join us for Tourist Trap. Watch it if you haven't for next time. Watch another. You look at our list of films that we've covered. Use it as an excuse to watch one. Then join us for a discussion afterwards.
Join us.
Precisely. You can find us at dismemberinghorror.com.
Yeah. Yep. You can email us at dismemberinghorror@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Correct.
And yeah.
And our big ask,
all
if you
those,
enjoying the show, please tell a like-minded friend or fiend or foe.
Yeah. Please get some of your enemies listening to this.
If they like horror movies too,
Yeah.
you think they might like it. This could be an excuse for you to reach across, extend a hand.
Extend a false hand.
No.
So like they grab it and
No.
it's,
It's a good show, right? So it's a nice thing.
yeah, but it's funny to make people shake a rubber hand.
That's true.
And then you're like, my hand! Blah. You don't like that gag?
In closing, thanks for listening.
And we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.